So the COVID-19 pandemic has altered the sports landscape dramatically, something that's certainly been felt here on the Madison College campus throughout 2020. After we lost our baseball and softball seasons this past spring, all the fall, winter sports have then been shifted to the 2021 calendar. To understand more of how it has impacted Wolfpack teams, coaches, and most importantly, our student athletes, I'm joined today by third-year men's basketball coach Jamal Palmer and first-year women's volleyball coach Quinn Lukens. Jamal, I want to start with you. Since you've been coaching better than over a decade in the world of basketball, you've got a little bit more experience to lean on, but obviously you've never dealt with anything like this before. How are you personally having to adjust to what you do as far as a basketball coach as a result of COVID?
Well, I think you got to be creative as best you can. I know we would all like to be with each other, like the coaches and the team would like to be around each other, with each other. But because of, the circumstances of the situation currently, we can't do that. So what I found, I was actually out of the area for a while. What I found that worked for me was to get the guys in the gym, and I had to do coaching virtually. I depended a lot on my assistant coaches to help me out since they were in the area. But for me personally, I had one of my assistants set up a huge TV, put a big speaker on there, and then we did like a WebEx or a Teams meeting type of call where I was able to kind of coach and facilitate from behind the screen. And it seemed like they responded to me, and the coach did a great job at helping me out with that. So that's one of the things I did, and I think maybe other coaches are doing the same thing. I'm not sure.
Now, Quinn, you were literally just hired as the new women's volleyball coach right when kind of the pandemic brought sports to a halt in March. How has the impact of the virus altered your ability to start a program, especially when you're trying to learn returning players and new players and whatever it might be?
Yeah, man, I was on campus for 3 days before campus shut down, and I had to go home. So my normal is working from home, basically. When you ask about developing relationships, we did a lot of Zoom calls and WebEx calls over summer. So in an interesting way, I had a better understanding of who the girls were as people before I saw them as volleyball players, as much as you can get through via Zoom or WebEx. But so that was different for me, coming in the first day of practice and feeling like I knew the kids, but also I had never seen a lot of them play. And then as we get going, usually we compete in the fall. This year, obviously no competition, but we still get to practice. And I think expectations had to change a little bit for the way that we, for what we demand from the athletes. I think in a normal competition year, that first month of practice before the first game, you'd be going 5 days a week. And right off the bat, we went 3 days a week in the gym, 2 days a week in the weight room. You got to be, like Jamal had said, you got to be creative with what you're doing. When we first started, we had to avoid doing any 6-on-6 stuff in the gym because, we had to make sure that we were adhering as much to social distance as possible. And then kind of halfway through the semester, we got to go ahead to do some scrimmage type stuff. And it actually allowed us to have a little bit of a phase shift in our practice where the first 3-4 weeks were, individual skill based. And then, that first day we got to go 6-on-6. It allowed a little bit of a shift, which in my head, that was going to be exciting for the kids. I don't know if they felt the same way, but, so yeah, for sure. You got to be creative with what you're doing and what you're expecting.
To that point, Jamal, maybe you can chime in as well. What sort of things have you done maybe to kind of increase competitiveness when you're not allowed to play games in a full semester when you normally would have? I mean, at this point in time, we're here early November. Quinn, you'd have wrapped up your first season by now, and Jamal, you guys would have maybe just been playing your first or second game. So that competition level that hasn't been there that normally would have, how have you made up for that?
Well, I think you mean for basketball, you want to go out there and compete. So the guys, you don't know who's going to be the starting five yet. So I think they got to come in with that competitive, trying to be as competitive as they can be because the coaches, we're looking. And I know at one point I said, hey, the only test that matters is my eye test, so no matter what you look like on paper, at the end of the day, it's who's buying into what we need to do, who looks good. And so I need to see you guys go out there and compete and not just who can score the basketball, but who can get stops, who can rebound, who can box out, who has the right type of attitude. So I think that goes a long way. But I think the group of guys we got coming in, I think they go at it. It's basketball, so they want to compete. So I feel like just that being what it is, that they want to go out there and compete hard and compete against their teammates, trying to fight for playing time, fight for whatever it is. So I feel like it's a given they're going to go compete, and I'm just hoping it sticks out. But it definitely hurts that you don't have a team in mind or a date in mind right now. But I think that will come as we get closer to January and things like that. But right now it's just maybe we got to count defensive stops. Who has the most defensive stops don't have to run suicides or ladders or whatever you want to call them. So I feel like, to me, basketball is basketball. You go out there and compete all the time. So.
Quinn, anything you guys have done to get creative on the competitive side?
Yeah, I mean, I alluded to it earlier by saying that, we didn't compete. We didn't do any scrimmage type stuff until about 3-4 weeks into our practice season. So we had a little bit of a gear change when we started doing 6-on-6 stuff. I'll kind of build off what Jamal was saying, how it's hard when you don't have you don't have an opponent to prepare for, because games and matches, those are chances for the team to unify, to have a goal against a common opponent. And, so even the competitive stuff that we have in practice is different because it's not the full team together against somebody else. You got to compete inter-squad. And I think in a lot of ways that's great, because it does build some of that competitive nature. And, we haven't done a single scrimmage type game where we put a starting six versus a non-starting group, so everyone, and I hope that this comes through with what we're doing. Everyone's still competing for a spot, competing for a chance to play when it does come to competition. So, I think that's been one thing that we've been able to implement to try to increase some competitiveness, is trying to instill the idea that everyone's still fighting for game time.
Practicing for a whole semester when you should have normally been playing can just be a long time. Have either of you done anything to kind of break up a little of that monotony if it gets to that point?
I'll take that one first. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the world, so there's chances to have conversations. When we're feeling like maybe practice is dragging a little bit, and we decide that we have a chance to maybe end a little early and have some conversations. Just recently with election day, I know Jamal, I know you gave your guys off because it was an important day, and we did the same thing. So we're kind of finding ways to try to engage the girls in other things, but also changing up what practice looks like. Hopefully it provides some variability and allows the kids to invest their efforts each day and not have it feel like it's as monotonous as possible. I think if we were going 5 days a week right now in the gym, I think that monotony would really set in. And I think a lot of our coaches on campus have adjusted what their normal expectations would be for for gym time, et cetera, because we understand that it's not the same. You don't have the match or the game at the end of the week to push you through the hard Mondays and Tuesdays, So definitely trying to just understand the situation and adapt.
Yeah, and I just go on with that. I think what we did was I have weekly, have 2 study halls per week where the guys get a chance to, not really socialize, but get on a WebEx or a Teams meetings call where they can see each other, but still doing their homework. So I think that's helped out as far as building some chemistry and people seeing a face, having a face and a name now, having a group chat. But definitely I got the guys involved in different programs at the college, the RISE programs, where they're Men of Excellence and things like that, where they can get involved with and have other people they hear other voices other than mine to help them out, especially with some of the situations that are going on around the world. So I think that has helped me a lot, and it got them more involved in some things. Recently, this past weekend, we had the challenge course where my guys, did the challenge course over there. So that was a little bit of team bonding. And just last night, after practice, we cut practice short so the guys can listen to Dr. Kendi talk, a speaker, and the guys, I think hopefully they got something out of that. But I feel like we're doing different things to kind of keep our guys engaged, at the same time teach them and let them hear without forcing, for me personally, without forcing my own views or opinions on them, but just have them be a little bit more open-minded to how things are around the world. So I think that's been good.
Jamal, we'll wrap up with you. You're also an advisor on campus. So if you could briefly just share things that maybe you've seen of how students are overcoming some of the academic hurdles brought on by COVID. I know there's a lot, so just any tidbits you can toss out there, especially for our student athletes.
Well, I think, everybody got a different learning style, and this virtual learning might not be made for everybody. So I think the colleges did a great job by offering, online live classes, which is different from just regular online, whereas actually they gotta log into their student accounts and their accounts to kind of watch the teacher give the lecture on screen. So I think that's been good. Some people don't have access to technology, so the school has done a great job by providing hotspots, laptops, whatever the students might need to make them more successful in the classroom. The advisors, we reach out to our students, especially the ones that are struggling, by offering early alerts where we can check in on them. We can check in on those guys and just make sure they're doing what they need to do and answer any questions they might have. So I feel like that's been a good thing. But the school has been a great support. There's a lot of resources we have. I think it also gives a lot of opportunities for people to get involved with different types of programs at the school. Like I said, the RISE programs, TRIO, Men of Excellence, Scholars of Promise, things like that. That's been really helpful for at least for my team I know of. I'll talk a lot about WorkSmart. So I think WorkSmart's a good program too. So.
Well, as it stands right now, both men's and women's basketball teams are slated to begin play in late January. Women's volleyball, you'll take the court hopefully early February. We're all crossing our fingers that we finally get to see both of you and your teams actually play some games here coming up soon. But Jamal Palmer and Quinn Lukens, I want to thank you both for your time and your insights today, and best of luck with your seasons in 2021.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, man.